Oh, yeah, that is right. That is right. That is right. The midweek report is here, it's live, and we definitely got to talk about that big press conference that took place earlier as you pretty much solidified one of the big cards here in 2023 that's going to take place at the end of 2023 with two big heavyweight fights headlining the card. And of course, you got a couple of other huge fights to look forward to on this fight card. That'll be December 23rd in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Riyadh season, the day of reckoning. And oh my goodness, we got to get into it. Of course, you got the thing headlining with the former unified heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua taking on Otto Wallin, all in Wallin, and then, of course, in the co-feature, two former world champions, Deontay Wilder and Joseph Parker. That is going to be huge, huge here December 23rd. That's going to be setting up something real big here later on down the line. It looks like it's going to be the plan here for 2024. But first, you have to take care of business here in 2023. And we saw here in this press conference that, at least with these two fights, you're going to have highly ranked contenders there in the heavyweight division facing each other here first. Like I said, you got Anthony Joshua, two-time unified heavyweight champion of the world. He's had two fights already this year. Of course, with Jermaine Franklin there, of course, he had that fight with Jermaine Franklin start off the year, and then he ended up stopping Robert Helenius in August. So you had one fight in April, one fight in August, and it looks like here he's going to have one fight in December. That was something that was mentioned. It was like he wanted to push for 3 fights this year because, when he was unified champion, you pretty much only had about 2 fights a year that he was fit in. And then, of course, in the past 2 years or so, he's only had one fight. Anthony Joshua only had the one fight against Usyk in 2021 and 2022. So here he is back 2023, getting active, getting busy, and now he's going to be facing Otto Wallin. When Otto Wallin, of course, had his run-in with Tyson Fury, sometime back. Some folks felt like that particular fight should have been stopped given the severity of the cut that Tyson Fury suffered, but didn't necessarily, fall his way. But ever since then, he's won every single bout since. He's had wins over Travis Kaufman, Dominic Brazil, notable, and his most recent bout was against Murat Gasayev, which was on September 30th. This will also be his 3rd fight this year. So you got 2 fighters here that are active, 2 big guys around 6'6". Of course, you have Otto Wallin as a southpaw. So this will be, one of those battles here for Anthony Joshua to, try to get through, against the southpaw. That was some things that he's, kind of like tried to deal with over the course of his professional career. Of course, he had those 2 bouts against Alexander Usyk. He had the fight against Alexander Povetkin. Of course, that was a notable southpaw that he, had some issues with before he was able to take out, Alexander Povetkin there with the knockout. But, here with Otto Wallin, very, very crafty fighter, guy that loves to get on the inside, loves to mix it up, and it's going to be a really big bout. And there's some rumblings out there that say, hey, maybe Otto Wallin has the shot that his style would not be a good look for Anthony Joshua, and that he has a really good chance of beating Anthony Joshua on December 23rd. But we're going to have to see how that shapes out, man, because Anthony Joshua said that he has a plan to once again become heavyweight champion of the world, to be a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. And, there have been, few throughout the history of the heavyweight division that's been 3 times world champion. And they're, some of them are among the best heavyweights of all time. So looks like, Anthony Joshua wants to stamp his name there in the history books as one of those guys that is, among the top heavyweights of all time. But he would have to build his way back, and then starts here against Otto Wallin. And with Otto Wallin, he, has the thing where this is another shot to, fight a high-profile fighter in the heavyweight division. And if he wants to have a shot at a world championship, he would have to go ahead and take care of business against Anthony Joshua. So that's going to be something there to look out for in the main event on December 23rd. But then, of course, like I said, the co-feature bout, the return of the Bronze Bomber, Deontay Wilder, former WBC heavyweight champion of the world, going up against Joseph Parker, former WBO heavyweight champion. And, they kind of like mentioned that at one point, they could have fought each other in a unification bout. While Parker was WBO champion, of course, when Wilder was WBC champ, but that didn't necessarily work out. He ended up seeing Joseph Parker fighting Anthony Joshua in a unification bout. But now, after all these years, you now see Joseph Parker and Deontay Wilder in the ring. And, with Deontay Wilder, of course, one of the highest knockout ratios in the sport of boxing. Just about all of his wins, except for the first bout against Bermond Severn, has ended in a knockout or stoppage. And now he's going up against Joseph Parker here. Of course, like I said, former WBO champion, and has a record of 33 wins with 3 losses. They saw him going up against Joe Joyce last year, ended up getting stopped in 11 rounds, but has had 3 fights since then. So talk about the guys that have been active. Joseph Parker's been active. Like I said, Otto Wallin's been active. Anthony Joshua's been active. But, fight fans, especially in the United States, have been waiting to see when Deontay Wilder would be able to get back in the ring. And now he's able to do that December 23rd in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's the return, on that there. So you definitely have the thing with Deontay Wilder getting back in the ring to see if he could continue his string of knockout victories. Of course, after he had defeated Robert Helenius in 1 round, now you got Deontay Wilder back here in a pretty good step up fight or something like that. In comparison to Robert Helenius going up against Joseph Parker. Now, for me, I kind of talked about this earlier, on Sunday, when it was initially was announced. But I want to talk about it in depth a little bit more. But I got, guests here with me on the Midweek Report to talk about the thing there with the press conference. You got the boxing academic in the building with us. What's going on, man? Call back to the academic. You there? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Nothing much. How you doing today?
Yeah, all good, man. I mean, we had like a lot of things going on today, especially in the heavyweight division. I talked about those 2 fights that are coming up on December 23rd. There's like a lot of stuff that's going down. Like I said, Joshua versus Wallin, Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker. Those are the 2 big fights that are going to be part of that fight card on December 23rd. And I'm just hoping that is going to be put on ESPN Plus. If they put this thing on ESPN Plus for a pay-per-view, I'm sold, man. I'm buying it.
Shout out to the Saudi Arabian government for making exciting, fan-friendly fights. We hadn't seen, that in a while. I get that there was a lot of buzz with the cross-pollination with Fury fighting Ngannou, which it ended up being, it was a good fight. But this fight card is stacked with a lot of interesting matchups, and it's not even just. outside of Wilder and Joshua, those are the two biggest names on the card. But the matchups are interesting. All the matchups are interesting. Well, most of the matchups are interesting. I'm not sure who that dude with the Twitch fighting, but he's scary. That's all I need to say about him. The dude with the little Twitch.
Wait, who you refer to? You talking about in the heavyweight division?
Yeah, he fighting on that card too.
Oh, Arslan back Makhmudov. You got Makhmudov on there. You got, of course, Jarrell Miller going up against Dayu Dubois. And we know about Dayu Dubois, man. So that's gonna be on there too, man. Dimitri Bivol is on this card too. So you got Jair Pataya on this card. 8 fights, looks like it's 8-fight card. Definitely stacked, man. Definitely stacked. And so we're looking forward to seeing what's going to happen in most of these fights, but especially they're in the heavyweight division, man. With Joshua versus Wallin and Wilder versus Parker, and and some folks have kind of like said this, that with the results of these fights, if Joshua and Wilder get through these fights, then they're going to be fighting in 2024. So that's definitely something that a lot of fight fans are hoping for here that's coming up next year. But you did mention the thing there with Saudi Arabia. It looks like they're having a bunch of stuff there where they're talking about having these fights be put together. Of course, we've seen what happened last month, a couple of weeks ago. You got this thing here coming up December 23rd. They got an announcement that's pending for tomorrow that says, it's going to be likely undisputed Fury versus Usyk. So they're going to have a number of events there in Saudi Arabia there for boxing. But with this card here, man, I'm like, who would have thought that you would have all of these fighters put together for this single card, especially
And
with
somebody to pay them.
Right, exactly.
How they getting their money back?
I don't know. I don't know, but I'm like they definitely have this money, a lot of money to blow here in this one, because you talk about the price tags for Joshua and Wilder alone, man. That's crazy, and then you're gonna have 6 other fights on top of that. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy, Now. I mean, you of course were able to get snippets of the press conference and whatnot. What did you take from some of the comments that were on there from some of the fighters?
So I would first like to give a shout out to the Bronze Bomber, Deontay Wilder, by being the person that he's always been and showing a tremendous amount of class when he referred to Anthony Joshua. Because me being an observer of boxing, I can arguably say he could have said a lot more other things that that were targeted toward Joshua in regards to the question that the dude tried to ask him, which it was kind of messy, but he essentially asked, "Hey, you've tried to fight some of these fighters before. Give me your opinions on that." And he wanted Wilder to say, "Yeah, he did dodge me, and hopefully he can keep on." But if Wilder would have said that, then Joshua probably would not have fought him. So I mean, I think he he responded the way that he should have responded. But I mean, he responded in class. He said, "Hey, whether we fight, whether we don't fight, I wish him nothing but the best." And sometimes that's what you got to do. Even people that sort of mean harm to you, don't like you, do you wrong. Hey, good riddance. I wish him the best. But I see also Wilder tried to be nice and respectable when he referred to what's his opponent? Joseph Parker, because the guy wanted him to say, "Are you gonna knock him out?" And he said it, but he didn't say it like how he could have said. So obviously, he think Joseph Parker is a nice person, and he don't want to, be mean to him in a sense. And I like that about Wilder. You could tell he's a compassionate person just by how he responds to things. You can see that in people. I'm not comparing, but on the opposite, I don't like Anthony Joshua's body language in regards to how he looked in this press conference, went around Deontay Wilder. It's like he spooked. Like, I get it, he don't like the man, but he be so like, his butt be clenching so much. I ain't trying to be like, pause or whatever, but the man butt be clenching, and he barely breathing and stuff, and it's just like Wilder, like, man, I got more life to live than to worry about, whatever beef me and you got. And then Joshua just over there barely can speak and just butt clenched. He can't even think about the fighter in front of him, and he just so consumed about whatever it was in the past. Man,
I don't think so, because like after the whole thing with the press conference and they had the thing with the pictures and everything, they both Wilder and Joshua, talked and chatted up and shook hands and that type of stuff. So I don't really think that it's more of like Joshua being also concerned about Wilder. It's just that like the way, like how he carries himself there is kind of like how he does in most of the time when he has those fights. Like, even with the whole thing, like I know we're going to talk about this too, but you even saw it like when he had the press conference years back with Jerome Miller. He kind of like had that type of mentality too, where he wasn't, we kind of like looked straight or just had this type of almost like a smug personality where
it's like pompous. It's pompous.
It
makes you unlikable. It makes you unlikable. Like, this man need to do some PR or something.
Like he's not like someone that's gonna like try to overtalk himself or do anything like that. He's just gonna be short to the point and just stoic, most of the time. So,
man, that ain't stoicism. I see what I was trying to be nice and not say, but I'm just gonna say it. No disrespect to the man, but I see weakness, man. Like, and if I see it, I'm sure Wilder see it. Like, it's something that you can see in people when you walk up to them, their demeanor, how uncomfortable they are, how whatever. It's a form of weakness. It's no different than the other English guy who quit in the fight. No, it's different. But I'm gonna tell you how it's the same. It's different, but I'm gonna tell you how it's sort of the same. With him, did you see how his promoter was like, "You're gonna get him, right?" And then he paused for like 3-4 seconds, and then he was like, "Yeah, I'm
excited. I'm so excited. I'm ready.
Yes, I am so excited. I'll get him. Yes, I will." And it's just like, I don't know, man. One's upbringing, man, it has a lot to do with how they perform as a grown-up, like resiliency and all that stuff. And I know I want him to succeed in his fight with Otto Wallin, but I hope he be straight after Wilder knock him out. That's all I'm saying. I hope he don't take it personally and make it an indictment on himself just because, this man hit him with as he would say, a shot from the gods or whatever. It's weakness, man. I'm sorry. I see it, man. I'm not saying he can't win, but I'm just saying there's something about him that I just want the man to work on. Who am I to say that, right? He would beat me up for sure, right? But I'm just saying, in the arena of gladiators, them other gladiators see that. Tyson Fury see it. Deontay Wilder see it. Dare I say it, Otto Wallin probably see it. he probably can't do as much about it, but he sees it. Jared, what's his name? Jarrell Miller see it. I hope he win this fight, man, because that to me is going to roll over to even his confidence in fighting a style that's probably going to be a little difficult for him. At least at some point, he might have some difficulty.
Well, I mean, the thing with this particular fight, I mean, he's fighting a southpaw, and we've seen what he's done against southpaws, of course, against Alexander Usyk twice and against Alexander Povetkin, and you've seen how he has that many issues. And, someone like with Wallin that has, the amount of, the activity as far as like his hands and throwing punches that, would it be something that would be a problem for Anthony Joshua? But, he's just coming in there like, like I said, he just has that, it's like a silent arrogance or something where he just, is short. Cause like he like talked about, cause he brought up the thing in reference to the face-off when they had the face-off after the press conference. And he was bringing up the whole thing with Otto Wallin in the press conference. Wallin like mentioned, "Oh, I'm a promotional free agent," and folks were like, "Well, wait a minute, because you're supposed to be under Dimitri Salita." And so, as far as like getting this stuff done, like we, had to talk with Salita a bunch of times in order to get this done. So, and now you're saying you're a promotional free agent? Like, what's up with that? So he's like, you need to get your business straight. Get your business together. Ain't he your promoter? Like, you better get that straight. He's like, I'm gonna hook you up. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's like, short. He doesn't have a like say an elevated sense of going after somebody. You know what I mean? Like we said with Jarrell Miller. Like with Jarrell Miller, like you're gonna hear Jarrell Miller. You know what I'm saying? Because he's gonna talk over everybody. And
are you trying to say he needs to improve his emotional intelligence? Is that what you just said?
Emotional intelligence.
Did you just say he needs to improve his emotional intelligence?
That's emotional intelligence. I'm kind of like hearing that term float around here a little bit, man. What's going on with it? I have no idea, man.
Stop listening to these women, JR. Because I know it's a woman who said it to you. JR, I need you to be more emotionally intelligent for me, JR. That's so funny. Dang. Oh, man. Did look, I hit it on the mark.
Oh man. But yeah, man, I just don't know, like, because even with the whole thing with Joshua before all of this came off, right? Like, what was it, last week or two or something like that? Like, folks were talking about him like going on a 4-day sabbatical or something like that. Like who is you? Like Aaron Rodgers or something? Like you need to find something. Like I don't even know, man.
From camp?
Like, it's just wild, man.
4-day sabbatical from camp?
Like, nah, I mean like sabbatical from like everything or something. You know what I mean? And now, even with this fight, coming up, right? They say because of the, whole schedule, I guess, for Derek James, for this particular fight, he'll be working with, Ben Davison. Ben Davison is, been a long-time trainer, of course, over there in the UK, has been, with Tyson Fury and was with Tyson Fury when Fury faced Wallin. So I guess, he's kind of like using Ben Davison here for this particular fight, but he said like he's going to be back with Derek James full time after this. But, having someone like another person like be part of your camp like that, I'm not sure. Actually, I might have to check something because I'm not sure if Davison was, part of Joshua's camp in one of his fights, but I have to see because, usually with Derek James, he'll have, somebody as a chief second or whatever it is, but he kind of like rotates or something like that. So I have to see if, Davison had been around Anthony Joshua before in his previous fights here leading up to this. But, with Ottawa Lean, like he has his whole camp. He's been over there in the New York area with Joey Gamache, and, he already has his routine. So he's already going to be comfortable in what he has to do or what he wants to do here in this upcoming fight. He's already had 3 fights this year, so I mean, 2 fights. It's Parker that's had 3 fights. So with Walling, he's had 2 fights already this year. So I mean, he's gonna be in good shape. He's had a recent fight, September 30th, against Murat Gassayev. That was a pretty good scrap. So yeah, Joshua, definitely will have his work cut out for him in this one. And for the thing with Wilder versus Parker, we kind of talked about this on Sunday. Like with Wilder and Parker, it's something where Parker is just a guy that he just doesn't have, the overall size or something like that in order to, keep Wilder off of him. I think here with Wilder is more about like, is he going to be able to get the so-called quote unquote ring rust off? Here against someone like Joseph Parker. Now, Joseph Parker, like I said, has been very active this year, but that's like a whole different caliber of fighter in comparison to Deontay Wilder. So it's like, for me, it's more about what is Deontay Wilder going to do in this particular bout that's coming up. You know what I mean?
Yep. I had a comment. I'm trying to think what you said about 2 comments ago. I think it was about Joshua. I was trying not to interrupt. What did you say about Joshua before you switched to Wilder?
Oh, the thing in reference to his trainer, right?
Yeah.
Like he's going to be with Ben Davison here, coming up, and in comparison, and not with Derek James. But I'm like they said, like he'll be back with Derek James after this particular fight. So my thing is, has Ben Davison been involved with Anthony Joshua before this particular fight? And I would have to check if he was, there for the Hellenius fight or, with the Jermaine Franklin fight or something like that. Because like having a whole new trainer with you, especially after you kind of like said that you took on Derek James here for these past 2 fights, like that's a whole different, style thing, in comparison to somebody like with Otto Walling that's been with Joey Gamache for his entire career, So it's gonna be an interesting thing to see here in this one.
Okay, I know what I was gonna say.
All right.
So as long as Anthony Joshua does not get knocked down on his back and get a 10 count and lose the fight by knockout, there's no way that Otto Walling will win this fight. There's no way that Otto Walling will win this fight. As long as Anthony Joshua does not get knocked out. And you can see from the press conference, by the way that everybody is so enamored by Joshua and Wilder. This whole thing is to set up Joshua and Wilder. I ain't saying, what it is and what it ain't. All I'm just saying is, Otto Walling, you got to knock this man out if you want to make any dent on the sort of pre-written outcome, which is Joshua Wilder. As long as he don't get knocked out, Anthony Joshua can fight a safe fight and win the fight. Just don't get knocked out.
I mean, it's almost like how they set up Walling there versus Fury, But even with that, Fury, had that major cut, and folks thought that he was in danger of losing that fight, and didn't end up losing that fight. So like here with these 2 fights, here with Joshua and Otto Walling, it's like, hey, as long as Joshua is able to get through this particular fight, one way or another, then you're gonna pretty much see him and Deontay Wilder because it seems like lot of people, even though Wilder has been the most inactive out of the 4 heavyweights there, that Wilder is much more favored here against Parker than Joshua is against Otto Walling. So It's more about, what is Joshua going to do here against Otto Walling, that's, a fairly active heavyweight that's, kind of like teetering around that top 15 range there in the heavyweight division. I mean, Joseph Parker is, of course, there within the top 10, but it's more about like I said, the style matchup just doesn't mesh well there for Joseph Parker in there. So,
and the size.
Yeah, the size, yeah. So I don't really see how that's gonna go there with that one. You had the other heavyweight fights. Of course, you had the thing there with Jarrell Miller and Daniel Dubois, and some folks talk about Daniel Dubois, having this effort there against Alexander Usyk in his last fight. But you got Jarrell Miller there, of course. Like, what is he like? 6'4", 320 plus. Going up against Daniel Dubois, and Daniel Dubois is what, like 250 or something like that, and he just looks really small in comparison to Jarrell Miller. Yeah, he's about like 235, 235, but in comparison to Jarrell Miller, who's there like 6'4", like 320, like that's completely different. And so, and actually the thing with Jarrell Miller's fighting style, I don't think that like he said, I don't really think Dubois has like something that'll have Jarrell Miller taking a back step at any point in this fight. So yeah, I don't think it's a good look for him there. I just don't see it, man. I don't see like what path Daniel Dubois has in order to, get the win in this fight.
Well, I see one path. Our biggest enemy is ourselves. And Daniel Dubois' best chance to win this fight is Jarrell Miller's inadequacies. 350, 360, ain't fought much, ain't got the same sort of motor that he had, unless he does. We don't know. But the last fight, he didn't have it. He got tired halfway through the fight, and it just looked a little different. If he is slipping like he did the last fight, and I know he probably, just was off and didn't have much runway there to get back in the swing of things. But if Dubois can catch him rusty and out of shape, then that bodes well for Dubois' style, which is give it your all in the first 4 or 5 rounds, go as hard as you can, and try to get him out there. And if you can't, we know what happens after round 6 with you, but give it your all for the first 5, 6 rounds. Try to knock this man out. See if he can, if his win and his, endurance, well, not endurance, but see if him being off and his ability to commit himself to that sport is where it need to be. And that's
right.
How he win the fight. Go for broke on that.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, even with the thing in the press conference, it almost seemed like this was kind of like a sink or swim type of a fight here for Daniel Dubois. And you like, coming off a loss with Alexander Usyk. So you don't like you had this thing here, a few months ago. Now they're putting you right back in the fight against a guy in Jarrell Miller that's looking to try to get back into the heavyweight mix. And he's gonna be really salivating and hungry to get at somebody, and especially someone that has fought for a world title like Daniel Dubois has. So he's gonna look to really be impressive and try to take him out. So and yeah, to be honest, like I really I'm seeing I think there was he got broken in that fight against Alexander Usyk because he thought that he had it there with the thing with what happened with Usyk going down to the canvas, and after that it was just it just was over for him. He didn't really have much of an effort to try to go for broke. So now here against Jarrell Miller, like I said, man, it's like sink or swim because if Jarrell Miller gets a hold of him and works on him, it's gonna be a wrap.
Yeah, I mean, Jarrell Miller even said, promoter, I'm gonna feel bad for you that I'm gonna, ruin one of your fighters. Let's talk long term.
Right.
I'll replace him for you.
Right. That's gonna be something there because you would think that Jarrell Miller working there with Frank Warren, and Frank Warren does have a series of fighters there. Of course, Tyson Fury, you got Joseph Parker there too. So, I'm looking to see like if he wants to go ahead and get in the mix, especially if he beats Daniel Dubois. You still have Joe Joyce too. Joe Joyce still has to come back from those two stoppage victory losses. I mean, there to Soleil Zhang. So we gotta wait to see what happens with that.
But you know what?
What up?
That is smart based upon what you just said, because him getting in good with Frank Warren means that he probably could get fast tracked to a Tyson Fury shot.
Yeah.
Especially by beating what's his name here?
Yeah, by beating Dubois, he would get right in the mix. He could get in there with that and then say, hey, let me get Joe Joyce. And then after Joe Joyce, man, I was like, I want the world championship. Like this is what I'm looking for. I want the world championship. I'm beating all of these guys. I'm embarrassing all these guys. So give me the shot at the top dog and let me show you what I can do. So
at this point, he will beat Joyce because Joyce is compromised to take shots now.
Yeah, he is. He just delays and broke him. He
did. He did.
It's crazy because especially with somebody like with Joe Joyce that had that moniker, the Juggernaut. Now you run into somebody that's been able to take your shots, and then when he throws right back at you, he's hurting you. So it was like, yeah, man. So we'll see, man. I mean, Jarrell Miller and Daniel Dubois. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna be that'll be a tough one to get through there for Daniel Dubois.
But at least it'll be exciting.
Yeah, for as long as it lasts for me.
Well, as long as it lasts, that's all the Sheik want to see. He want to see knockouts. He's setting up the knockout fights.
Yeah, he wants the knockouts, man. Well, I don't know if he's gonna get a knockout in that light heavyweight thing with Dimitri Bivol. Like they put Dimitri Bivol in this card, light heavyweight champion Bivol. He finally getting in the fight in 2023, going up against Lyndon Arthur, who's I think he's a Queensbury or Frank Warren fighter too. You got cruiserweight champion Jairo Pataya. That just came off of defending the belt. Now he's going up against this Ellis Zorro, and then you got Arslanbek Makhmudov against Isaac Kabiel, two undefeated fighters there going up against each other, and you got Frank Sanchez that fought on September 30th, and now he's gonna go up against Junior Fa. So definitely a good stack card there in Riyadh that's going to come up for December 23rd, man. But that's a lot of action in getting all of these fighters, involved together in this one card. Maybe, that kind of says maybe it's a sign of things to come. I don't know. But
yeah,
I was going everything heat over in Saudi Arabia for that to take place.
You hope what now?
Like, I hope it doesn't have to happen in Saudi Arabia, though. You know what I'm saying? Like these cross promotional fights and all that type of stuff. Hopefully, it doesn't have to, take place in Saudi Arabia for those things to happen. But
it seems like they're making it happen.
Yeah, it does. It does, man. So
green across all them borderlines.
Hey, you had the news about the whole thing with Showtime and PBC, and then you had these promoters talking about, maybe we could work together in doing this and making more fights and getting fights that people want to see. Well, here you go. You got this dude from Saudi Arabia that's, just came up with 2 fight cards and is on the verge of putting up another one. As I said, man, you're gonna have Usyk, Fury versus Usyk, coming up. So it's like, man, if they could do it, like, why can't these other promoters? So we'll see how that goes on that, man. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that fight card. We're gonna get more information about the fights and everything like that as days lead forward, and hopefully, like I said before, hopefully ESPN Plus picks this up here in the States. Because if it's the Zone, then it's like, damn, man, I'll have to go for the Zone and then order this fight. Yeah, I'm like, man, that's gonna be something, man. Shout out to Steph in the building, man. He says this might be this year's best all-around card, and we've had a few good cards this year, though. Yes, congrats to all the fighters participating, and salute to the Saudi leadership. Some people may think that the Saudis are kind of controversial in some way or whatever, but they're able to put this together, man. Just like I said with the last card, where they had a whole bunch of heavyweights against each other, and then you had Fury versus Ngannou. And speaking of Ngannou, of course, he had the close loss to Tyson Fury, and because of that, now the WBC has put Francis Ngannou in the WBC rankings at heavyweight. He put him in at number 10, and I'm like, oh man, he's only had 1 pro fight. And it ended up being a loss, and they still put him up in the rankings. That's like if they would have went years back when Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather and got stopped by Floyd Mayweather, and then they would put Conor McGregor in the rankings. Like that would have been some crazy stuff. But here with Francis Ngannou, man, I don't know. I think it's something where they're trying to get him into have more boxing fights. Even in the press conference or something like that, or around the thing for that press conference, they had Derek Chisora in there, and Derek Chisora is talking about he wants to fight Francis Ngannou. I'm like, man, I don't know, but
Man, I believe in Derek Chisora, because we're gonna see if Francis Ngannou real, like a cut above real. Yeah, with that type of style, which is different than the Tyson Fury style. Like he used a different type of strength. He ain't using the let me lay on you, because Tyson Fury had a rude awakening with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. His inside fighting is pretty superb though, so it might not bode well.
With Francis Ngannou, like he has that inside fighting type of thing, so like he would be able to get through that like shell type of style, blocking style of Derek Chisora. So I mean, yeah, it's like. Who knows? Just get the money. If they got the money, like Steph says, set it up. Go ahead and set up Derek Chisora versus Francis Ngannou there. And that'll be a fight that'll have a ranked fighter there in Francis Ngannou. But kind of like says like what does that mean for like all these other guys that have fought there in the heavyweight division? And now you got somebody that has like just that 1 fight, and he's already in the rankings. Like this is not only just like the top 15. Like you got him. He's like over Joe Joyce. He's over Cabello, who I mentioned is going to be on December 23rd. Dubois, Jalalov, and Hrgovic. And Hrgovic is going to be on that. December 23rd card, against Mark Nabori. I mentioned that on yesterday's show with Joe Herron of War Week Radio, that that you're going to have that be part of the card too. So, but yeah, man, Francis Ngannou on there just below Otto Wallin. Maybe I don't know, man. If there was some outside shot, maybe you could have Francis Ngannou versus Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua, Wilder and Joshua falls through somehow, but we'll see on that. Got another great guest to join on here in the conversation. The chef is in the building. Brother Terrell, what's going on, man?
Hey, one quick question. Did the boxing academic try to put you in a headlock yet? No, he don't play. He don't play. He definitely don't play. He'll pull a Draymond in a minute.
No, we've been pretty civil.
What?
Is that barbecue? What's that? Steak?
Yeah, filet mignon. That's all. Steak.
Oh, okay.
What's going on, everybody?
Yo, what's happening with you, man? We're talking about the fight card coming up December 23rd. And, of course, you got the whole thing with Francis Ngannou, after his fight with Tyson Fury. Now he's in the WBC rankings, man. I don't know. Maybe they could have him in another fight. I don't know if it'll be this year, but like I said, Derek Chisora said that he wants to fight with Francis Ngannou.
And that would actually sell. And like you talked about in your last week update or whatever, right? There's little to nothing going on in the heavyweight division, right?
Yeah.
The announcement this week that what would be happening and coming up in Saudi Arabia, which I'm glad to hear. Glad to hear. But other than that, there's nothing going on. So in another day, I'll be very upset to hear that Ngannou got ranked for after one fight. And Gray, he had a hell of a performance and arguably should have won that fight, but he didn't. But other than that, but in this days, why not? As far as heavyweights and stuff like that, because there's very little news. As we see, people are just taking too much time off, things like that. They just don't want to fight. They want to fight. So I don't know, it's crazy.
So to your point, Terrell and JR, I feel like they are capitalizing on, let's say you got a young fighter, which I'm not calling him young. I'm just saying, I'm painting a scenario. You got a young fighter who coming up and they doing their thing, ain't really fighting nobody. And you know how people got all that buzz behind them and they're like, oh, give them a shot. They can beat them. They can beat that. This is like, it ain't the reverse of that, but it's sort of that same sort of thinking. But instead of him being the young fighter, he's a mature fighter in another sport. And he fought, the best heavyweight in the world and stood his own ground. He fought very well. But the interesting thing about it is there's not enough tape, not enough information on him for us to know if that was a big wheel, performance. He just pulled it out just because he got up and Tyson Fury didn't take it serious, or will he be able to repeat it? Like, it ain't enough information to know that, but they capitalizing on our, wants and desire to see that. So, hey, why not? It ain't nothing else going on in the heavyweight, as Terrell said.
Yeah, I mean, you got, Ngannou, of course, he had the following there from mixed martial arts, had a kickboxing background, and, it was only one fight, but, even with that was still like, 10 rounds. So he was able to go 10 rounds, with the guy that, many consider as the top rated heavyweight in the world. So now it's like, okay, if he's able to do that against, the top rated heavyweight, what could he do against, other guys there that are, in the heavyweight division? And so it's like, maybe they want to try to, match him up with, some guy that, may be known, that's had a lot of experience, and see what he does against them. And so, someone like a Chisora, that would kind of like be a good barometer, because one, it would kind of like say you're going up against a guy that's like very experienced, that has a different style, like you were talking about there, boxing academic. But two, it would be just enough for like people to be interested to see Francis Ngannou in a fight of that caliber. It can't be like, somebody of a low level or something like that. That's like number 300 and something in the heavyweight rankings. It has to be like somebody that's, top 50, top 40 or something like that. That's been in the game for a while and been in high profile fights. Shoot, even with Chisora is, was recently in the ring against Tyson Fury, right? Actually, shoot, that was his last. Actually, that was the last fight. Damn, that's wild. That was Fury's last fight before Ngannou. That's wild. So I mean, that could kind of like get some interest there. From some folks to see if Francis Ngannou could beat someone like a Derek Chisora there. You know.
Yeah, and Mike, for the record, I totally agree with what you said. We definitely don't have enough data to process in regards to Ngannou. But when we just take a look at what we do have, got good size for this type of heavyweight division. Got good power, definitely good weight, and once again the power he got to knock down against Tyson in that third round, whatever it was, things like that. And to his credit, he had discipline. He didn't come out wild. And from that point, when you look back at his training, he never got like excessively tired, things like that. So those kind of things bodes well. But at the same time, can you repeat that again and again and again to make you a sustainable quality heavyweight going forward? So those are, as we always say, those are so many questions that we have to ask of an athlete or a boxer in that regard. So, but I mean, on the outside, when you kick the tires, it looks like you can. It looks like he can. He probably doesn't live excessively wild lifestyle, things like that. I've even seen some of his workout habits and stuff like that on Snap and stuff like that. So he's always in shape, trains every day, things like that. Lives and eats a sport. So that's one thing we always want to say. So if you stay ready, you have to get ready like that. So yeah. I mean, but I said definitely Chisora will be a good test for him in that regard. Not even just a good fight, just a good fight. Someone with a tons of experience. Because even Fury came out kind of aggressive, more than normal, throwing kind of some big shots. They didn't all land like that, but throughout that, Ngannou did stay focused throughout that barrage, things like that,
and made him reverse course. Made him rethink everything that he thought he was gonna do. He said, "I'm not Wilder. You can't. This ain't no basketball legs. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he was strong. He was very powerful. Like you said, he was patient. Obviously, he has a fighting brain because he picked the right style to give Tyson Fury trouble. And then with him using that hand fighting and stuff, I think he would bode well. But that patient style ain't gonna work against everybody. And Chisora is one that it would be interesting to see if what's the name, if his movement is good enough, if his speed and movement is good enough to like he can eliminate the right fighter who can move can eliminate Chisora like entirely for the most part. But if he does have that, and I gotta remember how his feet was in the Tyson Fury fight. I think they were adequate. They were like, there was nothing that told me that they were like lacking.
Right.
Yeah, like, but I don't remember.
He did keep his balance and do what he kind of like wanted to do for the majority of the fight. And even with him like switching stances from orthodox to southpaw, he was still kind of comfortable in both of those styles. So I think with the background that he has there in fighting, as far as like kickboxing and everything like that, that just kind of like made it to where he wasn't out of sorts when different things happen. So him going up against someone like Chisora, it's more about Chisora's style, when it comes to his upper body in comparison to like his moving his feet, because it's not like Chisora is a mover that uses the entire ring to move around. So he could be like there in front of him. It's just what will Ngannou do once he lands or something like that, or if he's able to string a few combinations and things like that. So that's just something to look forward to there in that potential bout if that does take place. He said something with Hyphy there in the building. He said like reference to the December 23rd card, like how many underdogs will win on this card? Yeah, that's a good question though.
Definitely not the top two fights. The underdogs ain't gonna win in those two fights.
Yeah, those two. Jarrell Miller versus Daniel Dubois. I don't know who's gonna be the favorite in that one, but yeah.
What you mean you don't know who's gonna be the? Oh, because he was out so much, which makes him
Yeah.
theoretically not be favorite.
Yeah, probably not. But I mean, I'll see what their opening is going to be for that.
Shoot, that might be the one that you want to bet on. If Jarrell Mills is not the favorite, that's probably going to be the one you bet on.
Yeah. That one definitely would be the one to bet on. The Bivol fight, I don't see that. Makhmudov versus what was it? Makhmudov versus Kabayel. Nah, I don't see that. I don't know, man. I don't see any of the underdogs. I don't see where any of the underdogs would, kind of like get a shot. It might be a clean sweep, all of the favorites winning, but hey, sometimes things happen in boxing, so anything can happen in boxing in that front, man. But
the only way they win again is if people get knockouts, because this ain't probably the place that people gonna get.
Actually, there might be one if they have Frank Sanchez as the favorite in his fight against Junior Fall. That might be it, because there could be something where Junior Fall could probably get Frank Sanchez, maybe. But outside of that, nah, I don't see it.
You saying get him, like knock him out, get him,
like knock him down at the very least, and get a win one way, either knockout or decision. But he could probably get Sanchez knocked down, because Sanchez, I think he's been knocked down before, man. What was it against Carlos Negron? Yeah, I think he was knocked down in that fight. So hey, could happen. Definitely could happen. But that's what I got here so far in this midweek report. We got, of course, don't forget tomorrow. You got Shakur Stevenson going up against Edwin De Los Santos. That's going to be on ESPN with the co-feature bout Emmanuel Navarrete versus Roberson Conceição. If y'all have ESPN Plus, you might be able to catch a few good fights that are going to be on the card there for that. But ESPN, I think, will just have those two fights on, and they'll probably start around 10:30 Eastern time. So y'all look forward to that fight with Shakur Stevenson and Edwin De Los Santos, and of course the co-feature with Emmanuel Navarrete. They're going up against Roberson Conceição. But for this midweek report, thanks Baka Academic and Brother Terrell for joining in here in this one. We're gonna be back at it on Sunday, and y'all enjoy the fights this week, and we will catch y'all later, man. Peace out.
Later.